Let's see if
Dallas,
it
yeah, bro.
connects now. Oh, Lymph, we live. I think we
Oh,
good.
we love.
Check our connection. Let's hope YouTube don't violate us again.
All right, let's see.
Oh yeah, we good. I just saw Galaxy on the stream. Hey, what's going on? This is the Knicks State of Mind show. YouTube has allowed me to come back on. If you were aware of it, the last show we had, they ended up trying to strike us down, but I'm gonna fight. They're not gonna do me dirty. So, Inf, how's it going, man?
Good, good. How's everything?
Everything's good. I just got done with some shoveling. Did you do any shoveling yet or no?
Not yet. I have to get rid of everything.
All right. As people start to come into the actual live stream and into the chat, I see UBG. What's good? How's everything with you, UBG? Hope all is well with you.
So
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so let's get into this game.
Yeah, this was an unfortunate loss. It was a game I thought we could have won, probably should have won, especially coming off that 2-game winning streak. But unfortunately, Tibbs, I guess, didn't stick to the rotations that I would have liked, which is becoming a theme of this season. So, Inf, what did you think about the game?
I'm aligned with you. I feel like this was actually a winnable game. I felt like, I mean, we was only down by 1 point at half, and we pretty much toe to toe even in the fourth quarter. It didn't reach a point where it got out of hand to like the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes of the game. And a lot of it, in my opinion, has to do with the rotation.
Yeah. It seems like every time we come on here, we have to keep questioning Tibbs and his rotation. And the Knicks made a big acquisition that we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. But right now, looking at the guard play, Payton once again got the bulk of the minutes. But in the previous 2 games, you understood why Tibbs decided to stick with Payton. But in this game, we really weren't getting much from Elfrid for him to really be getting the bulk of the minutes at point guard. He played 31 minutes today. I think IQ only had 17 minutes for the game. And if Elfrid Payton isn't giving it to us offensively, then I think IQ should definitely see way more than 17 minutes a game. IQ should be on the court 20 to 25 minutes every game, regardless of what else is going on, because IQ is going to be here for our long-term future. Elfrid Payton, his days with the Knicks may be numbered.
No, I mean, I agree. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, like, just looking at the plus minus, why Elfrid Payton gets 30 minutes and his plus minus is -9. Yet quickly, he's a +3. Like, if what he's doing out there is actually contributing to our overall score, if we're scoring more points and actually defending better when he's out there, then let's keep that momentum going. We need to go with whoever's actually doing good. So it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, his shooting wasn't the best, but he got to the free throw line. He still was getting assists. Like he was doing what he's supposed to do as a point guard. So I don't understand why Payton got the bulk of the minutes today. It didn't make any sense, and I feel like that's a part of the reason why we lost.
Yeah. Also, before I get into it a little further, just want to say shout out to a nudie 25. I guess he's watching the Super Bowl. I was watching it before I jumped on. Luckily, this coincided where we could kind of get this in between during the halftime show. So shout out to a nudie 25. Thank you for pulling up, even though the Super Bowl is on. Also, Drip More Baz Coots. I'm guessing he's agreeing with us. I'm not sure who it was, but basically we're on the same side of the coin with this one. Elfrid Payton does not need to be getting 30 minutes. And even though IQ didn't have the best performance when it comes to his shooting numbers, if you look at the post game from Tibbs not this game, but from the previous game, Tibbs said what he liked with IQ is the fact that when he's getting doubled, when he's getting trapped, he's making the right pass, and that's leading to the second pass, which is getting players open. And we saw that in a play, I think if not mistaken, in the second half, where IQ got trapped. He swung the ball over to Taj Gibson, and then Gibson found Obi for a wide open slam dunk. And I think that play right there is kind of echoing what I've been saying all season. You saw IQ draw the double team, make the right pass, which was to Taj Gibson, and we saw Obi actually attacking the basket, getting to the basket, and making an Amari Stoudemire-esque finish. So I'm not understanding why Tibbs isn't giving IQ more minutes and also giving Obi more minutes together so that we can continue to cultivate this young core.
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, but we constantly say this. Obi always looks better when IQ is on the floor. IQ is an actual point guard who looks for everyone on the court and not just focuses on Julius Randle. Because you'll notice when Peyton's on the floor with Obi, Obi will be in positions where he can cut to the basket or he's wide open and he won't get a touch. The ball does not find the way to him because Peyton doesn't have floor general mentality. He doesn't find the open man. He literally looks for Randle and gets out the way.
Yeah, now it's looking like Randle's new second in command is Reggie Bullock, because Randle in this game, he was looking for Reggie a lot. And I'm not going to come here and say that I'm a fan of Reggie, but even if a player that I don't like is performing well and helping the team succeed or be competitive, I'm going to give them a shout out. So Reggie Bullock, he had a pretty good game today. Went 7 of 17 from the field, 7 of 14 from three, shot 50% from three, and he had 21 points. And he helped Julius Randle in times where the Knicks were struggling. And Julius Randle himself had a phenomenal game, 26 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. The thing is, though, with Julius Randle that I was seeing, especially in this game, when he's on the floor with IQ, it seems like IQ kind of disappears on the court. Like there was times later on in that game, IQ's bringing up the ball and you see Julius Randle right there, like, hello, give me the ball. I got this. And it's just like, Julius Randle, I understand you got the hot hand and I understand you're killing, but let the offense flow through someone else. And maybe when the defense is trying to react, you might get a much easier look than just trying to go ahead and try to get things done on your own. So that's something I wasn't happy seeing when Julius and IQ were on the court together.
No, yeah, I mean Julius, he stops the offense. Unfortunately, he kills, like he's doing his thing. 26 points, 13, like he's doing good. But no, yeah, as far as like, I mean, he needs the ball. And then someone, let me see, Emerson SSBB mentioned that Barrett had a horrible game, which he did. And what did Tibbs do? He adjusted. He only played Barrett 19 minutes. Barrett normally plays 35 to close to 40 minutes a game. So Tibbs already shown like he can make adjustments when somebody isn't doing what they're supposed to. So why isn't he making these adjustments when it comes to Peyton? Like, when have you seen Barrett play 19 minutes in a game?
I was kind of upset that RJ only played 19 minutes, to be honest with you. I would have liked to see RJ, even though he wasn't having the greatest of games. I think he went 1 of 6 from the field. But still, RJ has shown, especially in the graphic they showed, what was it, the last 13, 14 games, RJ was shooting over 40% from three. I think it was like 43%. And he was shooting over 50% from the field. So bad games are going to happen, but I still don't think RJ was taken away from the team while he was on the court. So I would have liked to see Tibbs have a little bit more faith, have a little bit more support in RJ, as opposed to going away from him so quickly. No pun intended.
And one thing that surprised me, Taj Gibson getting minutes. Like, what? Why did Taj Gibson get 60 minutes? I mean, yeah, he hit that wide open corner three. He had like 9 points and 3 bounds, but like, what? I thought he was just there to help out the rookies, help grow the team, and be like a Udonis Haslem, someone who never touches the court, but is there for moral support. What is he getting 16 minutes for? And then Obi only gets 9. Like, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah, well, Taj Gibson was Taj Gibson was eating into the minutes of Nerlens Noel, because I think Nerlens Noel was out with a knee injury. So it's ironically just working in Taj Gibson's favor. I think the 2 games ago he had a groin injury and he sat, and now this game he sat because of a knee. So that's why we're seeing more minutes from Taj Gibson. And that's why I'm a little bit nervous about the trade we're going to talk about a little bit later, because Taj Gibson was on his couch a few weeks ago, and now he's getting more minutes than Obi Toppin, who's a player that we want to be a part of our long-term future. So we'll talk about the trade a little bit later, but yeah, I don't. Taj played. He was serviceable as a backup center. I'm just still shocked that he's getting as many minutes as he is getting, seeing that our younger players are getting less. Taj played what, 16 minutes, and then quickly played 17, so he played 1 minute more. And like you said, Obi only played 9-10 minutes. Why Taj Gibson is getting so many minutes out there is beyond me. I understand Tibbs wants to rely on veterans, but like we have to worry about this team's long-term future as well.
No, I mean, and it's like if you look at the comments, literally everyone is talking about D Rose this, D Rose that. Everybody wants to talk about the trade, but obviously, like before we get into that, which I mean, that ties into it. Like you mentioned, Tibbs relies on veterans, and so any acquisition we get who's a vet is just going to be a hindrance to the youth that we have. Because I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's frustrating, especially seeing how much faith Tibbs has with his veterans. Shout out also to Carl Jean Batiste. He's saying what's good to me and you. He's also asking a question about Rose. So I guess since the chat wants to talk about it, let's just jump into it now then. Yes, the Knicks are bringing in Derrick Rose. They're trading Dennis Smith Jr. and the Charlotte Hornets 2021 second round pick. That news kind of came out a little bit later, but they're sending those two over in return to the Pistons. Now, Inf, I dropped a video. YouTube didn't show it to anybody because of the Super Bowl, which I guess is understandable. But I'm not a big fan of this trade. But one saving grace is they didn't move any picks of value. We still have the 2 first-round picks. We still have Dallas, and we still have our own. And we still have Detroit's second-round pick, which we would expect to be better than Charlotte's second-round pick, seeing that Charlotte is kind of having a resurgency this year and playing pretty decent with the arrival of Lonzo Ball and Gordon Hayward. So we didn't send Kevin Knox, who I thought we might have to trade originally because Kevin Knox has had, 3 or 4? This was, the 4th DMP? He's had 4 straight DMPs. So I thought he might be a potential trading piece, but it ends up being DSJ instead, which, I would have liked us to get or to flip DSJ for a piece that would have been with us more so long term, even though the Knicks may re-sign Derrick Rose, but it'll be 33 at that point probably. But I would have liked them to move him for a younger piece. But think about it. He was down in the G League. He really didn't have much value. And I know this next draft is deep. So him in a second round, I can kind of live with it, but I'm not a fan because I don't want it to hinder IQ's development moving forward.
No, I mean, honestly, that's the reason why I'm not a fan of the trade at all, simply because if Tibbs has shown us one thing since the beginning of the season to now, it's that Peyton is getting his minutes, regardless of what. Even if Rose comes in and Rose becomes the starter, Peyton is coming off the bench immediately after Rose. And so all we're doing is taking minutes away from Quickly, or we're going to put Quickly as the 2 guard, which if you put Quickly and Peyton on the floor together, Peyton is not going to pass Quickly the ball because we already know who he passes the ball to. And even if that is the case, let's say we don't play Quickly just because it's the way Tibbs is. Like you mentioned on our last live, Peyton cannot run with that second unit who doesn't have shooters. So who's going to run the offense? What are we going to do? It's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
And Rose ain't going to shoot it either. Like, what?
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are, well, I won't say a lot, but there are a decent amount of people, Knicks fans, that are happy for this trade because they're saying Derrick Rose is a dynamic scorer. He's a major upgrade over Elfrid Payton. And yes, Derrick Rose is a better individual scorer, better at attacking the basket and things of that nature. But if you look at their stats this season, statistically, Elfrid Payton has a higher field goal percentage. It might have changed after this game, but last time I checked, Alfred Payton was shooting, I think, 43.4, 43.5% from the field. And Derrick Rose was shooting, I think, 42.9. So the field goal percentage is not that far of a difference, but Payton is still shooting at a better clip or at a higher clip than Derrick Rose. So I'm not sure what benefit bringing Derrick Rose in is going to really give us outside of, let me take that back. Derrick Rose is going to help us in situations where we saw a couple games ago where we were unable to score in the fourth quarter. I believe that was against the Portland Trailblazers. We went without a basket for the last 4 minutes. And Derrick Rose will definitely help in situations like that. But are we just going to use him as in spot situations like that? No, we're going to use him throughout the game. And I think that's where we may see IQ have a dip in his minutes, because let's say we keep Alfred Payton in the starting lineup for some reason, and then we have Derrick Rose as one of the first guards off the bench. They may move IQ off ball, which could benefit which will benefit the team and will benefit the second unit in some ways. But I still think we're taking away from IQ being able to develop and kind of learn the game as playing a point guard, which will help us in the long term. So yeah, Derrick Rose is going to help in that situation short term, but long term, we're kind of holding down what IQ's ceiling could be. Or what if the alternative is we're going to play Derrick Rose as a starter and we're going to have Payton come off the bench as the backup point guard for some reason, and then we're going to have IQ still stay off ball. In that situation, we're still going to have IQ not being able to learn the game as a point guard in the NBA. And then we're going to have Alfred Payton, who most likely is going to now slow down the entire second unit when they operate much better at a faster pace. So to me, I'm a little bit confused by this trade, and I'm just, Tibbs at least has the team competitive, so I'm going to give him a little bit of faith. I just hope this acquisition does not stunt the development and the growth of Emmanuel Quickley, both as a basketball player and as a point guard / backup point guard.
No, I mean, everyone in the chat literally agrees with you.
Okay.
IQ's growth is going to take a hit. Someone said, at least Lex the Destroyer said, depth at least, because we weren't going to use DSJ, which, I mean, that's true. Like,
that's true.
If we were just a straight up Rose for DSJ, fine, because Rose is clearly much better than DSJ in literally every single category you can name. Let me see. I just hope we draft the right people, and of course, IQ, him being at shooting guard won't really allow him to develop, like you just mentioned. Like I said, my only issue with this trade is that if it does end up taking away minutes from Quickley, then what are we really doing? Because we are constantly in this position where all of the vets that we have, this is their last season with us anyway. So why are we trying so hard to make them look good just for us to pay them even more to keep or to let them walk,
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It's a weird spot to be in, and it's a spot that I would have hoped the Knicks didn't find themselves in, because this is where you start getting into that cycle where you're a first round exit and then you don't have a high enough draft pick to really find marquee talent early in the draft. And then you're just going to have to rely on finding, diamonds in the rough, whether that be a Giannis, where was Giannis drafted, 14, or whether that be a Kawhi. That's what we're going to have to then rely on if we're going to still continue to use this approach. Because right now, to me, the core is Julius Randle, begrudgingly, R.J. Barrett, IQ, Obi, and hopefully Kevin Knox. Hopefully he can get out of the doghouse. But that's really our. Go ahead. What you said?
No, say it's quiet for him. But I'm surprised you didn't mention Robinson.
Yeah, I was getting there. Kevin Knox, who hopefully he'll get out of the doghouse, and then Mitchell Robinson. So that would be 7 players. Now, I don't think there's that many players out there in free agency upcoming that we can add to fill out this roster and jump into championship contention. So I think we have to have the players that we have committed to long term, whether that be the younger players, rookies, etc. And Julius Randle, who could still be considered a younger player at 26. It's going to depend on us developing those players and that's where we're going to really see us eventually hit that championship threshold. I don't think it's going to be just going out and bringing in aged veterans to try to buoy the younger talent. No, I think we have to develop who we have with us, make them into players that are going to be legit NBA players. Like right now, Obi, I think, is a decent piece, but he's a project and has to be developed. IQ seems he's already ready to take that next step. We have to allow him to take that next step. And Mitchell Robinson has to try to get better offensively and also try to stop making those boneheaded plays. That's what we should be working on instead of trying to give the bulk of these minutes to veterans, like you said, that won't be here for us.
And one of the things that concerns me about this trade is that clearly making a trade like this shows that, all right, now we know that we're going to make the playoffs. So we're trying to add up veterans. And it just makes me feel like this is just the beginning. I mean, the trade deadline isn't for like another, 3 weeks. We're going to give up more. Like this isn't, we're not just going to trade for Derrick Rose and then not do anything with it. Knowing Tibbs and them, they're probably going to now make a couple more trades. I'm sure Knox isn't going to be with us by the trade deadline.
Well, they did say that the Pistons were asking for Knox and the Knicks refused to move on from him. So hopefully that's a good sign. Also want to say salute to Robert Parr. Thank you for pulling up to the chat. I know the Super Bowl's on and you guys have other things you could be watching, but the fact that you decided to pull up to the chat and actually discuss Knicks with us, greatly appreciated. So shout out to you, Robert Parr, May 4th, Lex Destroyer, Jeff Jones, Cooley. I saw your comments earlier. I didn't get to mention you, but shout out to you. Also, Drip Moore's Baz Cuts as well. Hopefully there's another move Knicks making to make room. So yeah, he's saying the same thing you're saying, Inf, that there may be, other moves to come. But we need a wing. So why would we trade Kevin Knox unless we're going to get a wing? But then why are we going to bring in a veteran wing that might only be here for the next year? So I don't know.
I'm telling we wouldn't do this if that wasn't the case, though. Knox, he's going to be gone by trade deadline. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks end up trading away their first round pick since we have the Mavs one.
Nah, I don't. They got to keep both. They got to keep both, bro.
I hope. But with this Derrick Rose trade, I'm telling you, it immediately switched us from developing our young players, giving the young players minutes to, all right, now we're killing the season. Let's make the playoffs. And they're going to do everything they can to do it.
Yeah, also shout out to Primo. He says salute familiar. Salute to you too. And yeah, that's the issue I was having as well. Like I made a bunch of videos, one on Derrick Rose, another one on Zach LaVine, and a couple on Lonzo Ball, because those were other pieces, and I think Bradley Beal as well, because those were pieces that were kind of linked to the Knicks throughout this, rumor mill part of the season. But the thing is, when I licked my lips and I forgot what I was talking about. Inf, save me.
Well, May 4th actually agrees with me. They could, if getting Rose was foolish, absolutely. And no, I mean, honestly, because you mentioned Lonzo, like I would have rather us go for Lonzo simply because at least we can we can re-sign him for next season for not a crazy amount of money. He's not 10 years past his prime like Derrick Rose is,
I mean, it's just a weird place to be for a Knicks fan because like the team is competitive and you don't want to sound negative because where we've come from, we've come a long way, but it's just like how much better does this really make us? And we could have used that second round pick for something else. I'm not in those rooms with the executives, so I can't sit here and tell you what other moves the Knicks had available to them. But I'm sure the Knicks could have gotten a young piece with a second round pick that may be pretty valuable in a deep draft. I mean, I forgot who ended up trading with the 76ers, but they sent over a second round pick and got Zaire Smith, who I'm not saying the Knicks should have went out and got Zaire Smith, but at least Zaire Smith is a young player that can play defense and he just needs to work on his shooting. I feel like we could have got a wing that can give us some kind of value as a shooter and play some defense, and we could have put that second round pick with something else. Maybe it could have been a DSJ or even a Frank who is not playing as well, and got somebody that fit into that hole we have at small forward.
No, I mean, I agree. There's so many other things we could have done. There's so many other younger players that were available that we could have gone for. I mean, because Cleveland, didn't they have an issue with one of their players, Kevin Porter Jr., something like that? He's
Yeah,
decent, like
he went
nice.
over to Houston. He went over to Houston, but he's a
Exactly.
head case. I don't think him and Tibbs, that'd have been like water and oil. They'd have been like, Porter might have swung on him.
I mean, maybe, but at least he's still young, and if he could play good in New York, like he'll be worth something.
Yeah, but
and
then
we
again,
already tried the Rose thing. We did. Like, we tried Derrick Rose. That was 3 years ago? 2 years ago? 3?
That was like, yeah, what year was that? It was like 16, 17? Something around there.
I don't know. All I know is that we went from being 13-4 to dropping down to being a lottery team.
That was back when we were a quote unquote super team.
Exactly. Like, come on. He embarrassed us. He called us a super team, and we all knew. Ain't no way Rose, Melo, Joakim Noah, and Brandon Jennings is a super team. That's not.
Yeah.
That's a lottery team.
Yeah, but I mean, I can live with the deal if Derrick Rose and Elfrid Payton don't continue to impinge on Emmanuel Quickley. That's my main concern. Say it again, Ev?
But we know that it is. Like, we know that.
I want to give Tibbs the benefit of the doubt. I think Tibbs has his quote unquote master plan, and Tibbs up until now has had the team playing admirably. We're still in contention. We were in the sixth seed before the game. I'm not sure where we fell to now, but the team's in playoff contention. It's been a while since I can say that. So I'm gonna give Tibbs a little bit of faith, but every time he starts doing some of these, moves where we're giving more and more time to these aged veterans, then that's when I'm going to have to be like, all right, Tibbs, we need answers, because you have to let us know what the plan is for IQ, Obi, RJ. We need to know what the plans are for this team, because we as Knicks fans, we can't just say, okay, our contract is done and move on to another franchise. Like, the Knicks are my team. So you can come here and try to make this team competitive. I feel you, but don't make it competitive just in the short term, because when you have to leave and we have to turn the roster over, I'm still going to be here having to support the team. So I want you to make sure you're looking out for the franchise's welfare, both in the short term and also in the long term. And by doing that, you need to start playing IQ more often. You need to start playing Obi more often. And you also need to start getting Kevin Knox in the game and letting him do something, because if he were to play at his top potential, he's the perfect piece for our starting lineup. And I think this team wouldn't have to go out and try to search the trade market to try to bring in other players. I think if Kevin Knox can finally get it together, and like you said, we brought in his personal coaches and things are still not going as they should. So I it's just confusing. But I'm happy they didn't trade him, so we still have the option of him at least trying to elevate his game and get back into the rotation.
I mean, honestly, I would rather us trade him, because I feel like only because I feel like his value is just going to keep going down. Like, the more games that he picks up do not plays, like, the more his value is going to diminish. So it's like, just trade him before people could really understand that, all right, this kid, he's young, but he has no hope. He's dirt. Trade him. And then maybe he'll flourish in another team, in another system somewhere else, but get something of value for it.
Yeah, Primo is saying that D Rose is not going to take minutes from IQ, that Payton is already doing that. And if Payton is taking minutes from IQ at point guard, where are we going to play Rose? We're not going to play Rose at the 2. Rose is going to be played at the 1. So he's going to take minutes from somebody. And with the way Tibbs has been using Payton, it's hard for me to believe that Tibbs is going to play Elfrid Payton 30 minutes a game, play IQ 17 minutes a game, and now we're going to introduce a new point guard that's probably going to play at least 20, 25 minutes a game, and it's not going to cut into IQ's time. You might see IQ go down to like a 10 minutes like Obi, 12 minutes, and you might see Elfrid Payton be in the low 20s to kind of allow Derrick Rose to eat at point guard, because I don't see IQ still being able to play the 29 minutes he played against, what was it, the Hawks, where he went off. He's not going to be getting minutes like that, and I think Tibbs is going to do that because IQ has shown, he can score a point per minute. So I guess that's where Tibbs is going to try to go, but it's just rough for me to think that IQ won't be affected by Rose coming in.
And it's just like we mentioned, like Rose isn't a shooter. He doesn't spread the floor either. So he can, I mean, I'm not even going to say that he can knock down a shot, because obviously he can knock down a shot like if it's a clutch moment. But as far as like, if I see Derrick Rose at 3, I'm not running up to him. I'm like, all right, I'll stand kind of close. I'll see. But I know you're going to try to drive. So I don't know, man. He doesn't spread the floor. He doesn't add much. He's basically another Eford Payton, just much more athletic, and can get to the basket in a much cooler looking way. But that's it.
Primo was also saying that Elfrid Payton is going to take Rivers minutes, and Rivers really hasn't done great.
Rivers hasn't really done minutes.
He had that one game where he scored like 12 points, then like a bunch and like a flurry. And then since then, he really hasn't been doing much of anything. So if his minutes are compromised, then that means we're going to see a lot more of IQ off ball. But like I said earlier, from what I have seen on the film, I think IQ can flourish off ball already. But if this was going to be a season where we developed a player, I think IQ still was the best point guard on the team. And I think he should have been allowed or given the opportunity to continue to learn as a point guard. Because even if next offseason we draft a point guard to come in, you could still use IQ as like a Swiss Army knife. IQ could play off ball and he can run off screens, kind of like a Steph Curry. Or he can be on ball and he can still run the pick and roll and still get to the basket with that floater, still throw alley oops to Mitch Robinson or Obi, and we can still use him like that. So if he ends up being moved just strictly off ball, then that would be disheartening for me as both a fan of the team and a budding fan of Immanuel Quickley in his game.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, the only bright side, in my opinion, of this trade is that hopefully Payton will see a reduction in minutes, and this will cause him to waive his no trade clause
to get out of here.
Yeah,
because everybody's saying move Payton, but Payton is kind of stuck with us, and he doesn't make a lot of money, so it doesn't really hurt us to keep him on the roster. I think even now the Knicks still have like double-digit cap space, like 15 or 16 million cap space. So they are still probably going to be corresponding moves.
Yeah, Rose's contract is only $7.7 million. Like Rose isn't even expensive. Exactly. But let me see. Hadouken! Sharon said.
Hadouken?
Yeah, no, that's the name. Hadouken Sharon. Said that Rivers is going to get traded. Reports came in saying many contenders are looking at him, and at least one contender for Payton. So I mean, fingers crossed. Let's trade, package them for a wing. But yeah, if Payton sees his minutes drop and a contender wants him, then he'd be stupid not to waive his no trade clause.
Also, just want to say to the chat, thank you guys for pulling up on us and supporting us even during the Super Bowl. If you're not subscribed, now would be a great time to do it. And also make sure you smash that like button and continue to comment. We're reading the comments. And also, as you can see, the comments are part of the show. So thank you guys for supporting us, all right? Also, I want to shout out IQJ. IQJ, he watched one of my videos earlier, and he put the same backup lineup that I also would be cool with. He put Derrick Rose as the point guard, IQ off ball, Burks at the 3, and then Obi and Noel to round out the remaining second unit. And that could work. That's a unit that I would like to see if that's what we're going to end up going with. But I still, like I echoed earlier, still want to see IQ kind of learn and become a better point guard. Now, can Derrick Rose kind of teach him that and take him under the wing? That remains to be seen. Derrick Rose is used to coming off the bench. He's been doing that in Detroit. So maybe he might be willing to kind of teach IQ some of his, tricks, trying to get around defenders and also finding open teammates. And maybe that could help elevate IQ's game as a point guard. But I think actually being out there in game and being under the pressure, under the spotlight would have been the best way to kind of help him elevate as a point guard.
I don't see Derrick Rose as the veteran that should be teaching IQ simply because their games are completely different in every way.
But
The same
just to
play,
counter that part and that counter that point, just to
I haven't
say
even made.
that he might help. Go ahead. What you say?
No, I said I haven't even made the point yet.
Oh, because we know each other. I know where you about to go with it.
I'm just gonna say that the same offensive spots that Derrick Rose normally goes to are not the spots that IQ needs to go to. Like it's just different.
But I would
That's
say the fact that they aren't aren't the same type of players, I think is why Derrick Rose could be a benefit to teaching IQ, because what Derrick Rose excels at are some parts of the game that IQ kind of lacks. So if Derrick Rose were to be the consummate professional and take IQ under his wing, then I think offensively IQ's game could elevate because IQ still attacks. So IQ still tries to get into the paint, get to the basket. It's just that he's a phenomenal shooter, which opens up what he's able to do off ball and how he's able to help his teammates out being off ball and attracting attention. So if IQ is able to learn some of the craftiness or kind of build upon some of the craftiness he has, learning from Derrick Rose, then we could see some benefits from Rose being with this team. I just don't think that it should come at the cost of IQ seeing more time on the court. And what do you think about that?
I mean, it makes sense in theory, but that's more aligned with IQ learning, like adding more to his game, like learning more. But I feel like he needs a veteran point guard who has a similar play style. That way, he can already perfect what he has right now. That still needs some developing. But taking the game that he currently has, which still needs to be sharpened in some places, and just introducing a completely different style of play is going to be too much. I mean, because he still has a lot of places that he needs to work on just for himself as a shot creating point guard, as a point guard who should be focusing on shooting off the dribble and getting into much better shots, as opposed to not working on that and then now learning this whole other style of breaking down defenders, getting to the basket, being more athletic and more crafty. I just feel like it's a huge shift in his development.
I don't know. I think Derrick Rose has that back and forth crossover that'll kill people. So I don't know if IQ will be able to take that from him, because IQ's handle up till now to me is something that he can definitely work on. So if Derrick Rose can take IQ under the wing and kind of work on his handle, I think that'll be good, because IQ, even though I like him as a player, I think he should be the starting point guard. I'm not going to sit here and just act like IQ doesn't have flaws. IQ does have some flaws that he needs to work on. I just think getting him in game is where you're going to see the benefits. Like IQ jumping to pass the ball. He does that time and time again, and eventually defenses are going to start making him pay. Also, IQ also, stops his dribble a little too early for my liking, especially when he gets, in compromised positions. He kind of gets, I guess, he gets a little jittery, stops the ball and looks to pass immediately. As a true point guard, I'd like him to be able to control the ball and dribble the ball out a little bit and to reset, as opposed to having to stop in his dribble and pass the ball. Because that's what I do, because I can't dribble. IQ, as a starting NBA point guard, he's definitely going to have to work on that.
No, he definitely does. And I just got to shout out someone's comment. It was like, Tibbs is turning us into the New York Timberwolves.
Bro, yeah, it's really happening. And the crazy part is he's doing this and he did not have any success. He didn't have that much success with those teams. He had to go get Jimmy Butler. I don't know if there's a Jimmy Butler that's available right now. And if we do try to go and get a Jimmy Butler, we're not going to have the depth per se to really make noise in the playoffs.
The closest thing that's probably available on the trading block is probably DeMar DeRozan.
And that's terrible. I don't want DeMar DeRozan.
That is. I don't. Like Drake
DeMar
said,
DeRozan is RJ Barrett's floor.
I like it.
Like if RJ Barrett floors DeMar DeRozan, then that's cool. But I don't want to bring in another DeMar DeRozan and pair him with RJ. That'd be wild. Like that'd be a brick fest.
That's exactly what I don't want.
What's called a Brooklyn Belly is saying Tibbs does not send IQ out there to pass. Thank you for pulling up on us. Appreciate for you supporting the channel. A Nudie 25 says Wiggins is next. Not for us. I hope not.
No, Wiggins been dirt since he got drafted, and that's just facts only.
IQJ is saying all we have is Taj and Rose. Calm down. Dudes be gassing it.
Now we got Taj, Rose, and Thibs. Don't forget Thibs. He's
That's the orchestrator right there. And Hadouken is saying RJ actually shoots threes, though, unlike DeRozan, who took years. Yeah, RJ has gotten better in recent games or recently in shooting, but let's not act like he wasn't shooting 20-some-odd% from three at a point. Manny Ramos is saying signing Leonard on the offseason. See, I would be open. I would consider a Kawhi Leonard signing just for the simple fact that he could be that go-to killer late in games. Because right now, the Knicks don't have that wing that can just go out there and get a bucket whenever. And even when we have Julius Randle going out there to get his buckets, those are tough shots that Julius Randle's out there making. A lot of his points aren't like easy buckets. He's out there, working hard throughout the possession, trying to get his shots, and he's making tough shots, which I got to give him credit for. But we still need a wing that we can go to, whether it be late in the shot clock, late in the game, that can hold us down when we need a bucket. I was hoping RJ could develop into that player. It seems like he still needs more time to develop. That's understandable. Everybody can't come in and do that in the first or second year of their career. So I'm willing to give RJ more time. But if you want to speed up the process, then Kawhi Leonard would be the best option without having to spend draft capital.
No, I mean, I agree, but don't. I mean, I'm not even gonna get my hopes up with Leonard because we got Tibbs, and Tibbs is gonna keep Kawhi Leonard way out of New York simply off the fact that he ain't trying to hear nothing about no load management.
Yeah, facts. Now when everybody's averaging 35 minutes per game.
Yeah, Kawhi ain't coming here. He ain't trying to hear none of that. He's like, yeah, I'll give you 25 minutes a game, and I'll play every other game, and I don't play back to back. And Tibbs is gonna say, no, get out. So that's just how it is.
Also, my fault. I thought you was done. Go ahead, Inf.
No, just because people are also mentioning Joakim Noah, and I'm like, well, technically, he's still getting paid by the Knicks, so he counts too.
Bro, I was just about to say that we're still playing Joakim.
Like he's still on the Knicks payroll.
Yeah, that's a fact. Also, Robert Parr asks, do we need a superstar at the point guard or the small forward? Which one would best benefit this team? This team currently constructed, I would have to go and say a superstar point guard because, no, that's a tough question because then I don't even know because I think IQ, yeah, now I'm wavering, now I'm waffling. Yeah, I might have to say superstar small forward because with a superstar small forward, I mean, IQ has shown the ability to be serviceable. And with superstar small forwards nowadays, they have the option to still be able to run the team efficiently. So if you want to we have Derrick Rose technically now, though. So if you want to have a superstar small forward and have Derrick Rose in the starting lineup with a superstar, with IQ running the point guard with the second unit, I think that would work well. To bring in a superstar point guard would benefit this team immensely. I will agree with that. But I think the faith I have in IQ and what he can be able to do, I think a superstar small forward would really help us out a long way.
Yeah, and literally everybody in the chat is saying small forward. Like that's what it would make the most sense. Granted, I mean, when you think of small forwards, like you think of all the top names in the league currently, like like you mentioned Kawhi, you still got LeBron, you think KD, you think Paul George, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. You gotta sneak that kind of in there.
Yeah, kind of, because like I'm not impressed with what he's doing right now. I'm not impressed by none of it because he always does this. Like he is a regular season player, just like James Harden, just like Giannis. Like they kill in the regular season. Playoff P is a real thing. Once he gets to the playoff, he's dirt. So Don't be impressed. Don't give in to the hype that he's. None of it matters. None of it.
You're right. It does seem like the chat is looking for a small forward as well. I mean, that was a good question, Robert Paul. Thank you for bringing that up. That really was a good. I had to sit down and think about it. I'm like, I mean, yeah, we've been dying for a superstar point guard for so long, but if we have Derrick Rose, who is serviceable at best, I mean, well, I want at best, he can be dynamic still occasionally, but he's serviceable at point guard. And if we're still gonna move on from Peyton, get him out of here, and let IQ at least run the second unit, then a superstar small forward would slide into this unit, into this roster pretty well. I mean, we would bump Bullock down to the second unit, or well, we still have Burks. Burks is still going to stay with that second unit, so we're going to bump Bullocks to the end of the bench, and hopefully Kevin Knox could figure it out.
I mean, that's quiet for Kevin Knox. Anytime you bring that up, it's quiet for him. It's quiet. Let's see. Ro Brown mentioned Ingram. Like Ingram, I would have loved if we could have gotten Ingram instead of him re-signing with the Pelicans.
Because Ingram gives you a lot too. Because right now we have a bunch of players on our roster. Oh, I'm sorry, I cut you off, man.
No, I was just saying, like, he drops buckets. Like he's a walking bucket.
Yeah, Ingram I like as well, because Ingram at times can give you multiple stats in different categories. He can give you points, he can give you rebounds, and he can even give you assists. And right now we're seeing a lot of that with RJ, who has been killing with rebounds. Kind of tapered off a little bit recently, but I think he had back-to-back games. One we had 10 rebounds, 11 rebounds the next game. And IQ also is a guard that's been pretty proficient in grabbing rebounds and taking the ball down the next side of the court. So if you have Ingram, that can also help out with those duties and take or create or cause double teams, and you would have Randall, RJ being able to eat off of those, because you see the team get good looks once they make the right passes out of the double team. So if we can bring in another player that at times can get hot and draw that kind of attention, it's just going to open things up for the rest of the team.
No, I agree. And then May the 4th keeps saying that the Knicks is just playing checkers. He said that the Nets got Harden and we got Rose. The Nets, they did say that they straight up did not have to. I feel like they should have kept the roster. They finally got KD and Kyrie with their roster before the Harden trade. They were decent. So that, I mean, they stupid.
Yeah, they kind of went crazy. If they end up with Drummond, go ahead, say it again.
No, I was just like, they didn't need Harden. They got worse when they got him simply because they gave up literally everything.
Yeah, but then if they end up getting Drummond, then they kind of circumvent the rules that way. The thing is, when people try to relate that to what the Knicks are doing, you have to understand, when you look at our young talent, they're not in the same place where the Nets' young talent was. We're still, I guess, in the infancy stages of cultivating our own homegrown talent. So we have to continue to build them up to a point where they are not only contributing for us night in and night out, but they're also going to attract other teams who may have disgruntled stars. And, that could be a route. It's not a route I would necessarily want the Knicks to take, because I like our young players, but we have to wait until we get there first before you can really compare what the Nets are doing to what we're doing. We're just in two different places right now. And of course, the Nets are going to be at the better end of it because they're a lot further along in their development. They had Dinwiddie, they had Levert, they've had Russell. They've had those players for a while now before. And then they used Kenny Atkinson to help build them up and get them to a place where other teams would accept them in return for a superstar. So that's what I wanted the Knicks to do: develop the players we have now, and either they can contribute for us now, or we can move them for the final piece to kind of put things all together. But Tibbs is going his own way.
And I just want to comment on Wacko Knicks Fanatics comment, because he said Rose, RJ, Oubre, Randall, and Mitch. Hell no. I'm sorry, but hell, Kelly Oubre? No, like I can't never believe the hype. He had one 40-point game. Let's not forget when we was clowning him for the first 20 games of the season where he was 0 for like 100 from 3. He is not it. He had one good game. I do not want him on the Knicks. I don't even want him on the Westchester Knicks. He is not the answer. Not what we need. He's dirt.
You know what? I can't even go crazy because I did include Kelly Oubre in one of my realistic rebuilds way back when. Though this was before he started bumming it. He was coming off a season in Phoenix where he averaged almost 19 points a game, bro. And the Knicks needed scoring. I thought he was gonna come this season and actually bring it, but he's struggling over there in Golden State.
He is like, yeah, he ain't that son.
Yeah, I'm off the Kelly Oubre train. The Warriors are gonna have to hold that down.
And then Wacko said Kelly's been good for years. Yeah, but not this year. All that matters is currently. Like that's like saying, oh well, D Rose is an MVP. Like he ain't MVP now.
Yeah, what have you done for me lately?
Exactly. Like if you're not killing right now, you dirt. Like
what you call it? Tim Kim is saying he wishes that we would have went with Vassell in the draft as opposed to Obi. Vassell's 3-and-D small forward over with the Spurs right now. I don't know if I would have picked Vassell, even though Vassell, a lot of people saying coming into the draft that Vassell has the tools to do a lot more than they were saying. Because coming into the draft, they're saying he's a 3-and-D catch and shoot kind of player, but they're saying he can he can create for himself as well. So he may end up being like the next Kawhi over there in San Antonio. But I would have went with Halliburton. I got Halliburton on my fantasy team right now. He killing. He doing his thing. Yeah. He had like back-to-back 20-point games. He doesn't turn over the ball too much, It's crazy. The Knicks probably, if we were going to keep Randall and let Randall continue to wild out and be a potential all-star candidate, we probably really should have went with Hallie. He's wilding.
Somebody mentioned that we should have gotten Jerry and Grant. I mean, he's a small forward. He's shooting. Yeah, I mean, he's having a breakout season.
Yeah, he was balling. Yo, how did the Lakers have to go to double overtime?
Yeah, I don't know.
Bro, I'm watching a highlight, and I'm looking at it. Apparently, LeBron made the game-winning shot. So I'm watching a highlight in the Facebook group. Go ahead.
No, finish your using.
Yeah, so I'm watching the highlight, and I didn't even click it. I'm just reading the caption, and I'm like, LeBron James makes spectacular game-winning 3-point shot in double overtime against the Pistons. And I said, I'm not clicking this. Why the hell are the Lakers in double overtime against the 5-18 Pistons? I'm not paying that nobody.
Apparently, Anthony Davis is out of shape.
Say that one more time.
Apparently, right now, Anthony Davis is out of shape. Like, that's like a trending thing right now where he's just tired. But yeah, first off, what constitutes as a game winner? Because he made that shot with 33 seconds left. Like, how was that a game-winning shot? And when he made the shot, they were already up by like 2. That 3 didn't win the game. They didn't, like they were. Like to me, a game winner is like the clock is running down. You hit it, like buzzer beat it, game winner. Like it's not. Oh, we're up by 2. I hit a dagger 3 to put us up by 5. Oh, I made a game winner. Like, no, you didn't. You didn't. You just added on to the lead that you already had with 33 seconds left.
Facts. Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think we had a pretty good show. I'm about to hop back into the Super Bowl. See what I missed so far. I just want to say to the chat, thank you guys for holding us down, even though the Super Bowl was on. I really appreciate the support you guys showed for the live stream today. I hope you guys like the format. If you do like the format, let me know now in the chat, because this is how it'll look moving forward. I really want to make sure that the chat is an integral part of the actual show. So make sure you guys are here for the Knicks State of Mind show, 8 p.m. on weekends. Oh, before we go, Inf.
Next weekend.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we won't be able to live stream next weekend. You guys can understand what that weekend is. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to shoot an edited video for you guys and post that on Saturday and Sunday. So at least you guys can, watch that on Saturday and Sunday. So They're still calling me debate champ. Kev W gonna be tight over there. Like, how y'all still call him the debate champ and I won? Yeah. Shush. All right, so we're gonna end it here. Once again, I'm Quis, joined as always by my co-host Inf. This is the Knicks State of Mind show, and